Deep under Antarctica's oldest ice, Russian scientists expected to find nothing but frozen silence. Instead, they uncovered a hidden cavern beneath Lake Vostok, sealed away for millions of years. What they found inside was not dormant. It was alive, active, and reacting in ways no one at the station could explain. The discovery stunned the experts who were present.
A sealed world beneath the ice. In 2001, an early survey attempt at Lake Vostok ran into trouble. A small remote vehicle was lowered into a narrow test shaft to study the upper layers of the ice. According to archived logs, the drone moved normally at first. Then, the screens inside the control room showed a sudden spike in pressure. The jump happened so fast that the operators panicked. Before they could stabilize the equipment, the drone lost control and crashed somewhere inside the shaft. Engineers blamed the failure on unstable ice conditions. A few researchers later questioned this explanation. They pointed out that the pressure spike rose too sharply to match normal glacier movement. The event became an early sign that the environment above Lake Vostok behaved in ways that were not fully understood. Lake Vostok itself is one of the most isolated bodies of water on Earth. It sits beneath ice that is thicker than many mountain ranges. The lake has remained sealed for millions of years. No sunlight reaches its waters. No air enters its chamber. The temperature near the upper layers of ice is brutally cold. Yet the water beneath remains liquid because of the pressure and heat that rise slowly from deep within the Earth. Because the lake has been sealed for so long, many experts believed it might hold ancient microbial life. Some experts believed the lake might contain no life at all, and that its isolation had created a completely sterile environment. Others argued that small pockets inside the lake could still support simple organisms that adapted to darkness and high pressure. These ideas remained theoretical because no direct sample had ever been taken from the main body of the lake. The uncertainty created equal amounts of curiosity and fear. The scientific community understood that entering the lake would risk contamination, yet it could also reveal forms of life that had never been seen before. Researchers used radar, thermal scans, and seismic surveys to understand what might be hidden under the ice. The results were often confusing. Some scans showed dark zones with shapes that did not resemble natural formations. Other scans showed faint temperature shifts deep below the surface. Some experts dismissed these findings as equipment noise. Others believed the anomalies hinted at internal movements within the ice. None of these possibilities could be confirmed. What was clear was that Lake Vostok was not behaving like a simple block of frozen terrain. Every attempt to study it, even from the surface, raised new questions. The early incidents around the lake created a sense of urgency. Scientists began planning missions that would reach deeper than ever before. That decision would lead to the first full attempt to penetrate the ancient ice, and that effort became the beginning of a mission filled with unpredictable events.
The descent toward the unknown. The Russian team arrived at Lake Vostok with equipment that had taken years to develop inside the Russian Antarctic Research Program. Engineers from the Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute in St. Petersburg worked with specialists from several Russian mechanical laboratories to design a deep ice drilling system that could survive extreme pressure. The setup included a thermal drill head that could melt through compacted ice, reinforced casing to keep the borehole stable, and a custom fluid circulation system meant to prevent freezing around the drill. The machinery also used a cooling unit that allowed it to run for long periods without overheating inside the narrow shaft. The crew expected a difficult descent, but they believed the equipment could handle it. The sense of confidence changed once they crossed into the oldest layers of ice. As the drill advanced, the power readings began to spike in ways that confused the operators. The drill would run smoothly for several minutes, then suddenly draw far more energy than expected. Engineers checked for faults but found nothing. Some members of the team believed that the ice itself was creating unpredictable resistance. Others suggested that something beneath the ice was interfering with the equipment. These ideas appeared in some reports but were not confirmed. The team could only record the spikes and continue their work. Mechanical glitches soon appeared. Motors stalled and restarted at random moments. Small alarms triggered without clear cause. The crew found this frustrating and concerning because the equipment had been tested thoroughly before deployment. The behavior made several workers uneasy. The problems became more noticeable during periods of heavy drilling. At the same time, the communication lines that linked the drilling platform to the main station began to flicker. Voices broke into static, messages repeated without anyone speaking. The operators believed the interference came from the ice itself. It created a tense atmosphere around the entire mission. The crew also recorded vibrations inside the borehole that did not match any machinery cycles. The drill would be steady, yet the instruments detected a rhythmic shake deeper down. The pattern repeated at irregular intervals. Some researchers believed this was simply the natural shifting of ancient ice. Others argued that the rhythm felt too deliberate. The disagreement added pressure to an already difficult operation. Despite the complications, the scientists kept pushing forward. The season was already nearing its end. Temperatures would soon drop to levels that made continued drilling impossible. The team knew they had a narrow window. They refused to stop. Tension rose with every meter. The final layers of ancient ice approached, and everyone understood that the last few meters would be the most dangerous. According to some accounts, the temperature near the borehole walls began to shift unexpectedly. These shifts made the crew nervous because they did not know what caused them. What came next did not match anything they expected. The data that followed changed the entire tone of the mission.
Once the team broke through the final layer of ancient ice, they expected to see a normal, open pocket of water. Instead, their first major scan revealed something none of them had imagined. The radar returned a hollow signature that did not match any natural gap or ice fracture. It showed an open space with depth and shape. The operators ran the scan again, and the same outline appeared. They were not looking at a bubble or a crack. They were looking at a cavern beneath the lake. According to several accounts, the room fell silent as the data took shape on the monitor. Lake Vostok was already strange, but a cavern beneath its main chamber felt almost impossible. As they continued to scan the area, the cavity became even more confusing. Some sections appeared smooth on the radar display. The shapes looked curved and repeated in a way that made several researchers uneasy. Natural ice caves usually form with jagged and uneven surfaces. A few specialists suggested that water might have carved the shape slowly over time. Others argued that the formations looked too regular and might be the result of something else entirely. The disagreement created real tension in the control room because no one could offer a clear explanation. The team then shifted to a second tool. They used short-range sonar to study the cavity in greater detail. When the pulses spread through the water, the returning signals came back with irregular patterns. Some echoes bounced in unusual directions, as if parts of the cavity were shifting slightly. The variations were small but consistent. These anomalies repeated every time the sonar was activated. The operators exchanged worried looks because natural ice movement does not normally create this type of shifting response. This combination of smooth internal structures on radar and moving surfaces on sonar created a serious debate among the scientists. Some believed the data might be the result of malfunctioning equipment. Others believed the readings hinted at an active environment inside the hollow. These ideas remained speculative because the researchers still lacked direct visual evidence. The uncertainty created frustration and concern in equal measure. The discussion soon turned toward the possibility of lowering a probe into the cavity. The idea divided the team. Some argued that the cavity could collapse or damage the equipment. Others believed the team had already passed the point of speculation and needed to see what was inside. The debate continued until a new signal changed everything. According to several reports, faint echoes were detected from deep inside the hollow. They repeated twice and did not match any tool or machine in use. The room fell silent. That moment convinced the team they needed visual confirmation. A small camera module was prepared and attached to a long tether. It was designed to move slowly and record everything without disturbing the environment. The operators guided it toward the mouth of the cavity. The room darkened as everyone turned to the monitors. The moment the probe crossed into the hollow, the mission moved into territory none of them were prepared to face. When the probe first crossed into the cavern, the camera showed only black water. The feed stayed dark long enough that the operators began to question whether the lights were functioning. They increased the brightness, expecting to catch the walls of the cavity, but nothing appeared. The emptiness suggested that the space was far larger than they had predicted. Then something finally drifted into view. A thin cloud of sediment floated across the screen. The particles moved in a slow, unsettled pattern. The room went silent. A few researchers suggested that the probe might have stirred the sediment as it entered. Others felt uneasy. They pointed out that the pattern looked as if something had already passed through that water moments before the probe arrived. As the camera moved forward, a sudden ripple cut through the probe's light beam. The disturbance was sharp and unmistakable. Something had pushed the water in a deliberate way. The operators checked every instrument to rule out natural movement. The readings showed no currents and no flow inside the cavity. Nothing in the environment could have caused that motion. The team exchanged uneasy looks. The ripple behaved like a response from something that had moved just beyond the edge of the light. Pressure sensors then detected a slow, rhythmic pattern deep inside the hollow. The pattern was gentle at first, almost like a steady pulse. It repeated in long intervals. According to some members of the team, the pulse felt too organized to be random. Others argued that pressure can behave strangely in enclosed spaces. The disagreement created tension in the control room. The pattern continued for several minutes and then faded. A faint glow appeared far in the distance. It flashed for only a moment. The operators leaned closer to the screen, confused and nervous. The glow vanished as quickly as it appeared. Some researchers believed the glow could be caused by minerals or gas release. Others believed it looked like a biological light. These claims remained speculative because the camera had not moved close enough for a clear reading. The probe's audio channel then picked up a low vibration. The sound pulsed gently but with a clear rhythm. The vibration created a small wave across the water near the probe. The operators recorded the sound immediately. The audio did not match any known tool or machine on the station. The sound seemed to come from somewhere deeper inside the cavity. Readings soon showed that something was displacing water in a controlled manner. The data suggested a moving mass. The shape of the movement was long and deliberate. The scientists felt the weight of the moment. They knew that they were observing something that did not behave like ice, rock, or trapped gas. The unknown movement created fear and fascination at the same time. The team became divided on the next step. Some insisted that the probe should be pulled back before it was damaged. Others argued that they had already reached a point where retreat made no sense. They believed they needed visual confirmation. The disagreement grew until the glow returned. This time it was closer. The camera caught a faint curve of light moving across the darkness. Before anyone could adjust the image, the glow vanished again. That second flash ended the debate. The scientists decided that the probe had found something unusual enough to demand immediate study. They prepared to retrieve the probe so that they could collect water samples from the cavity. The samples would soon reveal details that pushed the mission deeper into uncertainty.
Evidence from the water samples. When the probe was lifted out of the borehole, the operators handled it with extreme care. They knew the smallest mistake could damage whatever clues the probe carried. As it broke the surface, something unusual caught their attention. The droplets clinging to the probe released tiny electrical readings. According to some reports, the droplets produced small but measurable charges when they touched the metal frame. The technicians froze. This was not normal lake water. It reacted as if something inside it was generating energy. The team collected every bit of it and sealed the containers without speaking. The tension in the room was clear. Inside the laboratory, the first examination revealed thin strands suspended in the sample. They moved gently, curling and uncurling as if reacting to the light above the microscope. The strands did not match any cataloged microorganisms. Some researchers believe they might be fragments of a larger structure. Others believe they might be active biological threads. Both interpretations raised serious concerns because nothing in that environment should behave with such control. The team studied one strand more closely. When they exposed it to a narrow beam of light, it tightened with a slow, deliberate pull. The movement was subtle but unmistakable. The room fell silent. Several scientists leaned in, unsure of what they were witnessing. One specialist whispered that the reaction resembled a reflex. Another suggested that it might be a stress response caused by chemical sensitivity. Both explanations remained speculative, but the fact that the strand reacted at all changed the tone of the entire investigation. Further testing brought even more unsettling results. A spectroscopy run showed proteins inside the sample that did not match extremophiles from any known environment.
They did not resemble deep-sea organisms or frozen microorganisms from other parts of Antarctica. Some researchers believe the proteins might belong to an organism that evolved in complete isolation. Others believed they could be portions of a much larger biological system. The unknown nature of these proteins shocked the team. One sample then produced a faint but steady pulse of heat. The rise in temperature was small but clear. It repeated twice before leveling out. The researchers checked for equipment faults but found none. A few specialists believed the heat might come from a chemical reaction. Others believed it could indicate metabolic activity. That possibility introduced real fear. It suggested that something inside the sample was producing energy on its own. Hours passed, and the samples continued to respond to light, movement, and temperature changes. Most microorganisms lose energy quickly once removed from their native environment. These samples remained active long after they should have faded. That detail alone convinced several members of the team that they were not studying simple life. The final sign came when a sealed container began to tremble. A technician heard a soft vibration inside. At first, he thought it was his imagination. When the vibration repeated, he called the others. The container shook gently, as if something inside it shifted on its own. After reviewing all the evidence, the researchers reached a difficult conclusion. The cavern beneath Lake Vostok did not hold isolated microbes. It held a functioning biological system that showed organized activity. This realization forced the team to prepare for the most dangerous step of the mission. The next probe would reveal the truth about what lived inside the cavern.